The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Filled with the Holy Spirit, Jesus returned from the Jordan and was led by the Spirit into the desert for 40 days to be tempted by the devil. He ate nothing during those days. And when they were over, he was hungry. The devil said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command this stone to become bread." Jesus answered him, "It is written, one does not live on bread alone." Then he took him up and showed him all the mountains, all the kingdoms of the world in a single instant. The devil said to him, "I shall give to you all this power and glory, for it has been handed over to me, and I may give it to whomever I wish. All this will be yours if you worship me." Jesus said to him in reply, "It is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him alone shall you serve." And he led him to Jerusalem, made him stand on the parapet of the temple, and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down here, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you to guard you, and with their hands they will support you, lest you dash your foot against a stone." Jesus said to him in reply, "It also says, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test." When the devil had finished every temptation, he departed from him for a time. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. When we just heard now in the gospel that the Spirit led Jesus into the desert, and there for 40 days he ate nothing during those days, we can ask the question, how is it possible? I did a quick search to find out how long you can go without any food. Well, we know Mahatma Gandhi survived 21 days without any food. You know, that's an established fact. But how could Jesus go for 40 days without any food? I don't know about you, but when I try to do that, what the church asks us, suggests that we can try to do, two other smaller meals, one main meal. Of course, you can really beef up on that main meal, I guess, if you want to. But when we try to do that, even that leaves us a little, weary. So, of course, it all depends on your situation. So you have to always be prudent with these things. But these fasts are also a good thing. It's scientifically proven that when we abstain from meat, for example, exactly 40 days abstaining from meat or meat products does a wonderful thing for us and health-wise. So these are not just abstract things. These are very concrete things. And, there's, in the history of Israel, many times before leaders were prepared, Abraham, Moses, David, as they were prepared for their call and their mission, they needed to go on this time of trial, this 40 days. And the people of Israel were in the desert for 40 years. So 40 is a symbolic time, but it's also a concrete time in which there is a purification. Purification from distraction. When you're in the desert, it's a matter of real survival. You have to be very focused. You can't be distracted. You need to do what you have to do in a focused way in order to survive in the desert. So this is the aspect of the call, the desert journey, that we are invited to do every year during this Lent, to withdraw from the ordinary distractions that we have. And you know we live a distracted life more than in the past. When they came out with newspapers, they were complaining that these newspapers were distracting from the work. Now, I mean, you know, our internet is newspapers on steroids, so we are so distracted. So what do we have to do? We have to do some concrete things. And it's not just a matter of withdrawing. It's withdrawing, but entering into prayer, entering into spiritual reading, and entering into almsgiving. If we don't do those positive things, then we will be consumed by what we're trying to do. We need to enter into this fasting in a positive way, so it can create a space in us for this goodness to come forward. So I would like to just suggest that, you know, when we are withdrawing from our favorite entertainment, whether it's movies or maybe a little comedy show or something. Okay, let's say we sacrifice the comedy show. Now replace it by reading. You can see this very easily on the internet. Dr. Peter Kreff's 20 Arguments for the Existence of God. Take a look at that. That might not be intellectually appealing, but you know, if you learn those, then you might have an interesting conversation with somebody to show that faith and science are not opposed, and it's not either one or the other. And that's what we're living in now. 25% of our population are heading in the direction of the new atheism, and you know, are sure that God doesn't exist and things like that. And you know, it's not just the young people; it's what's going on the university level, and scientists. They think they've got all the answers, but really, when they go outside of science and into philosophy, they just are showing what we could call, intellectual arrogance. So, but you can't tell that. You know, we have to learn for ourselves that everything that we have comes from God. We have to be able to show that. And that's what Jesus is doing. First, he's being tempted by the devil. You know, you're hungry. And that happens to us. When we're hungry, we seek consolation in material things, whether it's food or entertainment or any kind of distractions. When we're stressed, we seek that. But ultimately, it doesn't satisfy because our hearts are made for the Lord. That's why Jesus says, the first reply to you shall worship the Lord. One does not live by bread alone. That's the answer Jesus gives. One does not live by bread alone. When we are properly ordered to God, it returns to us as a blessing. And when our society is not properly ordered to God, it slowly deteriorates. We saw this in the past century with militant atheism. What did it produce? Collapse of whole societies, famine, and all kinds of tragedies. Do you see today what's happening in Venezuela? Do you hear a lot from the mainstream media about what's happening in Venezuela? Do you know why it happened? Well, it has to do with a teaching that we can just find our consolation in material things. It's a materialism, and it's not sustainable. Only our faith in God will bring forth the fruit of a sustaining society, a growing society. So faith in God is essential. So we need to understand that ourselves so we can also share it with one another. So let's take this opportunity, just in a simple way, as we withdraw from some of the distractions, to enter more deeply into our relationship with the Lord, to enter into a deeper understanding for ourselves that we can share with one another. And that way, we can be transformed. We can be a light to one another. We can be that joy. The Lord can be that joy in us and shine through us to bring that Easter light and glory to all of our family and friends.